I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all?
Welcome back to Bashar Messages. In this video, Bashar explains that ghosts can move objects and how they move objects. He also explains why some ghosts believe that they are not actually dead.
In the sense of a spirit that is capable of lowering its vibration enough to be perceived by the senses of the living, that you typically refer to as a ghost, a spirit, when it appears in your world, in your reality. The idea being that spirits who pass over, as you say, who die, who transition, may not always go all the way for a variety of reasons. Some may have unfinished business on earth. Some, because of their belief systems, may not have had a particular expectation or assumption of what they would experience in the so-called afterlife, and thus be a little bit confused about where they are. Some even may not even know they're dead and are wandering, looking for reasons why no one can hear them or see them. But now and then, either due to a lowering of their vibrational frequency, sort of similar to the idea of invisible ultraviolet light lowering its frequency to become visible as part of the visible spectrum of light, going down into violet and blue and so on and so forth. If they lower their frequency, they may become visible to those in the physical realm, or those in the physical realm may have enough sensitivity to perceive that spirit, even though it may not always be visible to everyone. But for some reason, they are still closely connected energetically to the physical realm of Earth, due to some of the reasons we have said or other reasons, and thus are still in their mind living among you, wandering among you, occupying the old houses, so on and so forth, what you typically refer to as a haunting, which doesn't in any way, shape, or form have to be malicious. Simply another person in another state, living in a place among the living. But the idea is that in seeing these beings, there is no way without communicating with them to know the reason why they may still be in what is referred to as the lower astral realm, very close to the vibration of physical reality, lowering their vibration enough to be perceived by physical beings. And this is the older and original definition of an exorcist, sort of a spirit psychologist, to communicate, find out why that being is in that state, why they're still lingering around Earth, which doesn't always have to be for a negative reason. Sometimes, when spirits cross over, and they act, in a sense, as guardians, spirit guides, for those who are still living, there may be reasons why they can learn to lower their vibration to interact with the living in certain ways, even to the degree of appearing solid as a living physical being. This takes some skill and some practice on the part of spirits to do this, because once you are in spirit and in that high frequency vibration that is generally invisible to the living, it is actually not as natural for a spirit to go back down into the lower vibrations and become perceivable to the living. But there are those who may have reason to do so, to appear to the living in certain ways, to deliver messages, or perhaps as a protector, to alert living people to certain ideas, certain situations and circumstances, be it dangerous or not. So those spirits may have a high degree of need to lower their vibration to interact with the living and be perceived as living people until such time as they raise their vibration again and vanish before your eyes. And so there may be great need to do this, or they may simply have chosen to practice the ability of raising and lowering their vibration in order to interact with the living for a variety of their own reasons, or agreements they may have made with the living people with whom they interact. Now, beyond the idea of it actually being a spirit, a ghost per se, that you're interacting with, that is live in real time, as you say, there may be other effects that exist that can be interpreted as seeing a ghost. And one of them is the idea that in the fabric of space-time, everything is recorded. You might say, again, as people on your planet often name it, the Akashic records have a kind of video sort of ability to record things as well as audio or pure information. And all that information is available here and now because everything exists here and now. So again, for those that might be sensitive enough, might extend their senses far enough vibrationally to pick up on certain things that may have happened, linearly speaking, in the past, and perceive the recording, it's etched itself into the fabric of space and time, they may be seeing a recording of sorts, an echo of sorts of things that have been, or even will be, in your linear framework, and perceive that as a living ghost, even though it is simply an echo, a recording, something etched into the fabric of space-time, and is no longer actually present. These kinds of perceptions will usually appear to be repeatable. In other words, a person may say, oh yes, this place is haunted, and at midnight, every 3 days, you see this woman walking down the hallway into this room, and so on and so forth. And if that keeps repeating, it might not be what would be termed a living presence. It might actually be a recording, repeating over and over again when the conditions are right to trigger it, or when the conditions are right in a person's senses to perceive it. So a lot of things that repeat themselves that way may actually not be a living presence. It might be, but it may not be, because it could simply be etched into the fabric of space-time and repeating on a loop. Another way that people might perceive the idea of a ghost that is not a ghost in the classic sense is the idea of peering into parallel realities. Sometimes the so-called barriers between one reality and another will overlap, will weaken, will align vibrationally in some way, shape, or form to allow a person from your reality to actually perceive, although perhaps faintly and dimly, people in other realities. And therefore, in suddenly seeing an apparition wandering through your reality, you might perceive it or think it to be a ghost of someone who has passed over, but in fact you are actually seeing a faint representation of a person in another reality who is just going about their business, but may seem to you to be a ghost. And they may be able to perceive you that way at that moment as well, and go back to their friends and family with tales of having seen this ghost. And they're just describing you, because again, the veils between the different realities may have weakened for some reason at that point, because these fluctuations do often happen. There are doorways and portals that open to different dimensions on a regular basis, and some of them are random, and sometimes these openings and closings can allow one in your reality to peer into other realities temporarily until they close again. And sometimes these are interpreted as spirits and ghosts when they are not, in the classic sense, such a thing. But the idea of this season is to allow yourself to open up to the potential communication that can exist between you and spirits, spirit guides, family members who may have passed on, soul family groups who may never have even incarnated. It is the ability of your senses to stretch into that realm, especially if someone close to you has died and is encouraging you to stretch your senses to connect with them in the spirit realm. This is the perfect season and timing to allow yourself to practice this. And this will be the subject of our meditation today, to give you an opportunity to do so. So, allow yourselves during your Halloween season, while having fun, playing scary, while having fun being spooked out, while having fun imagining all sorts of strange apparitions and so on and so forth, keep in a corner of your mind the realization that this, in the vibrational cycles of Earth, is also when the veils are thin, between the physical and the non-physical, because remember, the physical is just a projection of consciousness.
Now, let's break down what Bashar just said about ghosts, so-called ghosts. Remember, we label things in this reality, this perceived world. We label them with our minds. Do you really understand the implications of this? That means nothing that we label is what we label, because we are attempting to place a sticker, so to speak, on something that already exists. Reality. So when we label phenomena as ghosts, we are simply attempting to codify, make more easily to understand something that is beyond our mental comprehension. So ghosts just are other aspects of the one. As Bashar always says, the one is the all and the all is the one. If everything is one, then there cannot be two, meaning everything is the same thing, happening at the same time. There is no split, no duality, no other, just differences within the all, because the all, being the all, can have the experience of difference. That's what makes it the all. So these so-called ghosts are simply other aspects of yourself, in the sense that your true self is everything. It's the source of reality. When perceiving phenomena through our senses, our minds, we are going to perceive a limited version of the all. Also, with our mind, with our paradigm that we are living in, we perceive time as being linear. That's why we assume that so-called phenomena that we label ghosts are from the future or the past, when really they are always what they are right now. Just as you right now are you right now, but you are also you in another realm, another reality, because the you, the source of the you, is that all, which is the one. Do you see how this works? And as Bashar said, the so-called ghost can choose to lower its so-called frequency to interact with our reality. We can put it like that. To react with our reality. We can say density and these types of words and vibrations, but those words aren't as easy to understand. It's not like you literally turn a dial. There's no dial to the self. But we do alter our perception. That's what changes the so-called frequency, to enter different realms. And that's all we are doing when we are contacting non-physical entities, or they contact us. We're simply altering our perception. Some people do this with plants, some people do this with meditation, some people can just do it. So ghosts are essentially other aspects of you, in the sense that everything is another aspect of you, because you are reality and ghosts are reality. And the different types of ghosts are simply different ways that we perceive phenomena, and then create stories about the phenomena. Like, this was a person who lived here 500 years ago. Like Bashar said, no, it can just be a recording, so to speak, that has always been in that particular place. And how can that be true? Because all is one all the time. From the largest perspective, everything is what it is. Nothing really changes, so to speak. It just is what it is. Again, through our linear perception, it seems as though things change and move. But that's what we need to experience duality, experience itself. So don't fear ghosts, because they're not real in the sense that they are like these aliens that we see on the movie screen and things like that can harm you. No, they're just different perceptions of reality, different aspects of reality that you're perceiving in a particular way. Can they harm you? You can only harm yourself. If you believe that they can harm you, then something could happen. If you don't, then it can't happen. That's the power of belief. You are in this so-called physical realm and they are not. So you have the power to simply ignore them, and they will have no power to be perceived in this realm. Because if you want to match their frequency, so to speak, you have to allow for the even possibility that they could even be in this realm. So you have the power always. Never forget that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video of Bashar Messages.